The Lost Voyage of the Siren's Call. In the heart of the Roaring Twenties, a ship known as the Siren's Call set sail from the bustling port of New York City. This ship, with its gleaming white hull and towering masts, was unlike any other. It was said to be cursed, a vessel that had been plagued by misfortune and tragedy for generations. The Siren's Call was a merchant ship, designed to carry precious cargo across the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. Its captain, a grizzled old sea dog named Captain Benjamin "Benny" Blackwood, was a man of few words but boundless experience. He had sailed the treacherous waters of the Atlantic for decades, and the Siren's Call was his pride and joy. As the ship left the harbor, the crew and passengers looked out at the sprawling city skyline, a forest of towering skyscrapers that seemed to touch the heavens. Among the passengers was a young woman named Amelia, a writer seeking adventure and inspiration for her next novel. She had heard tales of the Siren's Call and its cursed reputation, and she couldn't resist the allure of such a story. Days turned into weeks as the Siren's Call sailed farther and farther from the familiar shores of America. The crew worked tirelessly to ensure the safety of the ship and its valuable cargo, while Amelia wandered the deck, taking notes and soaking in the salt air. She soon became enamored with the rugged charm of Captain Blackwood, who regaled her with tales of his many voyages. But as they ventured deeper into the Atlantic, strange things began to happen. Unexplained phenomena occurred at sea, from mere lights on the horizon to ghostly apparitions seen by the crew during their night watches. The sailors whispered that the Siren's Call was living up to its cursed reputation. One particularly foggy night, as Amelia was on deck scribbling in her journal, she heard a haunting melody drifting through the mist. It was a melancholic tune that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. She followed the haunting melody, unable to resist its allure. Amelia soon found herself at the ship's bow, where she saw a figure standing at the edge of the deck. It was Captain Blackwood, his weathered face illuminated by the eerie light of the fog. He was playing a hauntingly beautiful melody on his violin, his fingers moving with an otherworldly grace. "Captain, what are you doing?" Amelia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Captain Blackwood turned to her, his eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and longing. "I'm playing the song of the sirens, my dear," he replied. It's said to bring both joy and sorrow to those who hear it. As Amelia listened to the haunting melody, she felt a strange sensation wash over her. It was as if the music was drawing her in, pulling her closer to the edge of the ship. She fought against its enchanting spell, but it was a losing battle. Just as she was about to step over the edge and into the dark waters below, strong hands grabbed her and pulled her back to safety. It was a member of the crew who had come to her rescue, but Captain Blackwood had vanished into the fog. Amelia was shaken by the experience and soon realized that the siren's call was more than just a cursed ship. It was a ship haunted by the spirits of those who had been lost at sea. The crew members had their own stories of encounters with these restless souls, and they lived in constant fear of the ship's supernatural occupants. As the days turned into months, the siren's call encountered one storm after another, each more ferocious than the last. The ship was battered and bruised, its once pristine hull now scarred and weather-beaten. But Captain Blackwood remained determined to complete the voyage, even as the crew begged him to turn back. One stormy night, as the ship battled against towering waves and howling winds, Amelia found herself in the captain's cabin. She saw Captain Blackwood standing before a mirror, a haunted look in his eyes. He was speaking to someone, but there was no one else in the room. "Captain, who are you talking to?" Amelia asked, her voice trembling. Captain Blackwood turned to her, his eyes wide with terror. "The spirits of the siren's call," he replied. "They're angry, Amelia, and they won't rest until they've claimed us all." Amelia realized that the captain had been communicating with the restless souls that haunted the ship. He believed that only by completing the cursed voyage could he appease them and put an end to the siren's call's torment. Despite the crew's protests, Captain Blackwood pressed on, determined to reach their destination. But as they approached the fabled Bermuda Triangle, the storms grew even more violent, and the ship was tossed about like a ragdoll. It seemed as though the very ocean itself was determined to claim the siren's call. Amelia, now deeply entwined in the ship's fate, knew that she had to do something to save the crew and herself. She delved into the ship's history, researching the stories of those who had sailed on the siren's call before. She discovered that the ship's curse was tied to a lost treasure, a legendary hoard of riches that had been the downfall of countless sailors. Armed with this knowledge, Amelia confronted Captain Blackwood and begged him to turn back. She told him about the cursed treasure and how it had brought nothing but misery to those who had sought it. She implored him to abandon the voyage and save the lives of his crew. Captain Blackwood was torn, but the love he felt for his ship and the desire to end its curse drove him forward. He believed that he could find the treasure and finally put an end to the Siren's call's torment. As the ship sailed deeper into the Bermuda Triangle, the storms grew even more violent, and the crew's morale plummeted. It seemed as though the very ocean itself was determined to claim the Siren's call. Amelia, now deeply entwined in the ship's fate, knew that she had to do something to save the crew and herself. She delved into the ship's history, researching the stories of those who had sailed on the Siren's call before. She discovered that the ship's curse was tied to a lost treasure, a legendary hoard of riches that had been the downfall of countless sailors. Armed with this knowledge, Amelia confronted Captain Blackwood and begged him to turn back. She told him about the cursed treasure and how it had brought nothing but misery to those who had sought it. She implored him to abandon the voyage and save the lives of his crew. Captain Blackwood was torn, but the love he felt for his ship and the desire to end its curse drove him forward. He believed that he could find the treasure and finally put an end to the Siren's call's torment. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the Bermuda Triangle, strange and inexplicable phenomena plagued the ship. Navigation equipment malfunctioned. The stars above danced in strange patterns, and eerie lights flickered on the horizon. The crew grew increasingly superstitious,